Hey y'all, good afternoon. It's Ned over in my Philippine Dreams coming at you from Dumaguete City, the city of gentle people. And today we're going to be talking about shouldering. That's right, brush your shoulder off. One of the most common complaints I hear from my fellow expats, actually one of the many complaints that I hear from my fellow expats, has to do with shouldering. Now, shouldering is basically a Filipino concept. It's part of the language here. It's part of the culture. It's been a part of the culture for decades, if not centuries, if not eons. Basically what it comes down to is this. If you have, and there are members of the family that have not, you're expected to share some of your have with the have-nots when it comes to certain things. Typically, these things take the form of medical emergencies because they don't really have health insurance like they have in the West, where everything is comprehensive and everything is covered. Yeah, if you have PhilHealth, it's going to cover about 40 to 50% of hospitalization costs, but the medication costs and the ancillary costs, other than the hospitalization, can really add up. The other one where you're expected to shoulder some responsibility typically has to do with funerals. If somebody in the family passes away, the people that are working, the people that have, are expected to share some of the costs of that funeral. Now, when it comes to expats complaining about this, there's good news and there's bad news. The bad news is, you're right. Sometimes we are being targeted for shouldering, for financial assistance when it comes to certain things. The good news is they're not just targeting us. So this level of victimization, this level of unfair play that we seem to perceive when it comes to shouldering, you got to look at it in the greater context. If there's somebody in the family, and in some cases of the extended clan, that has resources that other family members might need, there is an expectation there to provide those resources. Again, specifically when it comes to medical emergencies, funeral expenses, things like that, college expenses. And a lot of times, those expectations fall upon the shoulders of OFWs, overseas Filipino workers, or family members that are working. A lot of times, like around Dumaguete City, if you go into the malls, you'll see these young dongs and dies working at the malls. They're all dressed up. They work like 8 to 12-hour days, 6 days a week. And a lot of times, they're the only breadwinner in the family. They're the one providing the rice. They're the one providing the vegetables. They're the ones providing the manok. So that level of expectation is there. And it's also, when we talk about utang na loob, which is that debt of obligation, which is one of the core values in Filipino culture, in my humble experience and what I've seen so far, there is that we gave to you, so now you have to give to us. And in some cases, yes, it can be exploited. In some cases, OFWs can be viciously exploited. Now in the West, this idea of shouldering is kind of different. A lot of times, you know, if it comes, we have some catastrophic emergency and we need money, we'll borrow money from friends or family and usually pay them back. With shouldering, a lot of times, again, because you're dealing with the haves and the have-nots, when the haves provide to the have-nots have no real way of paying back the haves. So it's not really a loan, it's more of a payment. And again, when it comes to expats complaining about that, that's the context that they put it in. They expect it to be a loan to the family for medical emergencies, funeral, college expenses, or whatever, when in actuality and all reality, it's not going to be paid back. My personal experience with shouldering is rather limited. The only time I've had to provide money or been expected to provide money to Michelle's family was when her father passed away last year. And it wasn't only me providing the money, it was all the other members of the family that were working. We all shared our resources, we all shared that expense, and we did it fairly. The other experience I have was when one of the kids' fathers got sick. He got really sick, and the family needed some medication, and they showed up at our gate one night and said, listen, we need 3,000 pesos. And they didn't even couch it in the form of a loan. They said, we need 3,000 pesos. The family's income is very limited, so I knew that wasn't going to get paid back. I had some misgivings about it because I had heard horror stories. But what are you going to do? I couldn't say no. We had a relationship with these families. We had a relationship with the parents, with the children. So we provided that 3,000 pesos, that's $66. And that was his initial medication. I believe since then he's gotten some government assistance to continue that medication. So they haven't come back and asked for more. So my experience with shouldering has been limited. Can it be exploited? Can foreigners be exploited? Can foreigners be unduly targeted at times? Yes, it can definitely happen. But it's something that you have to know about, and when you know about it and you have that information and you know that knowledge, you can put forth the context and the rules and the stipulations of how that assistance, that shouldering, that financial gift, because it's a financial gift, is going to be bestowed. So what are your personal experiences, the good, the bad, and the ugly? Share it down in the comments section. Like, dislike, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. This is Ned, My Philippine Dreams. Oh, one last thing about shouldering. I think this is pretty interesting. Social media, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff has become part of this whole shouldering process, particularly when it comes to medical emergencies. If someone's in the hospital, if someone got into a car accident, certain types of blood are needed. Sometimes those pints of blood are in short supply. Also, they're very expensive. So people will go onto Facebook, the local Dumaguete Facebook page, and say, listen, my Lola, my daughter, my mother is in the hospital, bad car accident, they need blood for a transfusion, can somebody please help? And a lot of times you'll look at the comment section, and a lot of it's in Bisaya, and I don't really speak Bisaya, so I have Michelle translate it, and it's usually people offering, and they go in and they verify the information and they provide the blood. So I think that's pretty cool. And again, social media bringing this idea of shouldering and people that have helping out those that do not have to a new level, and I think that's pretty cool.